Welcome to The Journey with Dan and Krystal Barbosa from Pathfinder Counseling Group. We appreciate you visiting us, and please, if you like what you hear, like us and then share it with others as well. Today, what are we going to talk about, Krystal?
So today we're talking about identity versus role confusion in Erikson's fifth stage. So generally the ages of 12 to 18. And so this is when our kids are starting to question their own identity, trying to create their own identity and figure out pretty much what Erikson quoted, who am I?
Right. You know, and I think sometimes it goes beyond age 18. It can go a couple years, more than a couple, I think.
It can. And that all stems from how our frontal lobe is developing, because technically our frontal lobe doesn't stop developing till we're 24.
Between 24, 26, yeah, something like that.
That's what the label.
Right. So in our frontal lobe how does it get stymied from developing, or what stops it from developing?
So things that stop it from developing, the biggest one is malnutrition, of course. And not having those type of supports. But
parental support, I suppose.
Well, yes. Yeah. And we'll get into more of like how Erikson's stages, like things that we can do to further support our children during these stages. And then things that you'll notice kids who have really bad upbringings or things that we can do that will hinder them. We'll definitely go into that in a minute. But the biggest thing is that during this stage, they're trying to figure out their sense of self.
Right.
And what they're trying to find their sense of self from is from their peers, not from their parents, but they need it.
Oh, wow.
They're not looking for it, but they need it.
Yes.
But that's where we get a lot of those fights. In this stage, we get a lot of that backfires parents or grandparents, you'll learn, I'm sure. And you've had it from your own kids, where you get that backfire during this year because they're trying to find their sense of identity. Right. And they want to find it away from you, away from their norm. Because at this stage, before this stage, their identity was brother, sister, son, daughter. Now they're trying to figure out, okay, I know I'm all those things, but who am I as an individual beyond that? So holding on to, I'm still your daughter or your son, I'm still a sister or a brother, but who am I? Like, what am I? And so this is a stage where they cling onto their peers like glue. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you're doing that. I'm thinking, man, where was I? In that stage. I know where I was. But where was I beyond that as I was trying to figure out who am I? Because even I'm here to tell you, even at 21, 22, I still didn't know who I was.
And that probably factors in because you didn't have the support that we'll talk about in a minute that you needed during the more early fundamental ages, like 12, 13, 14. You probably didn't have the support and things that we'll talk about in a minute to have a better sense of identity when you were 21, 22. And that's a great example of somebody who sadly struggled with not having the support that they needed during that very, very important stage of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
One thing I definitely wanted to share was that not establishing an identity during this stage is going to end up having somebody have a lot of insecurities and doubts within themselves.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where we get these young 20-year-olds are like, what am I going to do in college? Who am I? Because during those 12 to 18 years, when you're supposed to be asking those questions and challenging your parents, that's when you're going out, I'm a punk this week, I'm a emo kid this week, again, you got all these different genres. We have the jocks, we have the cheerleaders, but around that stage, we're all trying to figure out what group am I in? I don't fit there, who am I? And you'll constantly find some kids that in 1 year they're into this, but then a year or two later, they're like, oh, I don't like that. I like this instead. Because they're trying to figure out their place in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that through observation in my own family system, as well as myself.
Oh yeah. So the next thing I wanted to kind of talk about was how there are different things depending on the child's role. So the child must understand that in different situations with different people, you have to communicate in a different way. So this is another issue that a lot of our kids, especially like our preteens, our younger teens, as they're maneuvering the world, they're trying to figure out, I am older now, but I'm an adult. I'm still not a kid. Where do I fit?
Right.
So we get a lot of the mouthing off. I'm an adult. You're not there yet. But again, they're challenging you because they're trying to find that sense of identity.
Right.
But I'm not a kid. I have a mouth. I can say I have a sense of purpose. I have my own ideas.
Right.
That's where we get that back talk from.
Right.
And so that's a big thing that comes around that stage. My question I was going to ask you is, since before we delve into the things that could help us, what are some things that you feel, because you always love to share about your life, might have helped you or hindered you in this stage yourself that you've noticed?
Oh, wow.
So around age 12, 13, what do you remember for yourself as trying to go out into the world and really figure out who you were?
What hindered that, or what did I?
What did you end up doing? What are some examples that you remember from your life?
I remember playing, I had to move from Michigan at the age of 10 to Florida with my mother. And even then, I'm not at this stage. I'm at a different stage. But at 12, I remember playing baseball.
Okay.
I was on a baseball team in Florida. It didn't stick. I didn't stay in it. I played on that team for that season, but I didn't go back to it. Okay. And then also later in that stage, at 15, 16, I tried out for the football team and at the high school, but I was that kid that would run down the field and my pants would come down because I didn't have it tight enough.
You were too itty bitty?
No, I didn't know what I was doing. But I did play, years before that. I played football for the Detroit YMCA. I was the only white guy on the team. For one of the YMCA clusters, I guess you could say, in Detroit. I did play football. And that was a good time. I enjoyed that, but that was like 8 or 9, or something like that,
So I'm going to stop you. I'm going to ask you a question real quick then. So around when you moved and you were there and you kind of were a little more comfortable and established, around you're 11 or 12, one of the biggest things for that time frame is having a role model. Did you have a role model? No, I did. We all have role models, but they weren't healthy. There we go.
There wasn't positive or healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest things, or this stage in this age group, is having somebody. It doesn't matter whether it's a parent, and again, a lot of times it's not a parent, sadly. Maybe a teacher.
Later on, when I went back up to Michigan and I was like a sophomore, junior maybe in high school, I got involved in some sort of community thing. SAD. I know I got involved in SAD. I ran for office in our grade. For the 10th grade. President or whatever.
School
I did
council.
School council. I did that, and then I did get involved in Students Against Drunk Driving.
Oh, nice.
SAD.
So you always had the desire to help people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did. But I also got involved in some other things where I did have a role model when I was a sophomore, junior, and it was a counselor, in fact, in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Miss Johnson.
Awesome.
Yeah, Miss Johnson was my school counselor, and she helped me out. She's the one that directed me and kind of gave me guidance as to the student council, as to, developing a speech and becoming part of SAD and just doing other things.
So it sounded like she encouraged you a lot. She supported you a lot.
Yes, she did. Yeah. And
that's that positive role model.
And it was a counselor. Yeah. So what am I doing now?
It's very, exactly. And it's very common for children at this age to develop a positive role model to be, typically it's a teacher or school counselor. Those are the number ones. Yeah. Right. So having your counselor, mine happened to be my English teacher in 6th grade. Okay. And she's still, like I think I've shared before in the podcast, she still supports my children now. She just randomly buys them books. Oh, wow. And I'm just like, you were just an English teacher, but she was my whole world. She was the only one at that time in my life that kind of like you gave me that encouragement.
Now, I always remembered Miss Johnson. I remember her even when I was active duty as a soldier when I was in my 20s. When I married my wife, I even looked her up. She ended up retiring out of the school system, moving to Arizona. She wrote a book, I think a book of poems, and I think I have it somewhere in my books or something like that.
Yeah.
But she was a writer, and so I like to write, and eventually I will publish. I published a master thesis, and I'm looking to publish my dissertation. But
that's awesome.
Anyway,
no, that's okay. But this kind of segues into what are the positive things that we need to give our children or any child in this age group. Right. Again, it's generally between 12 and 18.
Right.
If it is beyond 18, it's because during the time frame that they were supposed to have all of these things, they didn't have it. And so that's when we run into, like I said a little while ago, 20-year-old, 21-year-olds that are, insecure. They don't know what their life career path is. They still struggle with that identity and those life goals.
Right.
But the things that we can do, one of them is have a positive role model in their life. Right. So somebody who gives them a chance to be themselves, but guides them,
Right.
Encouragement to be independent is another big thing.
Right.
Again, this time they're trying to identify who they are, so they're going to be, maybe they want to dress a little different, they want to dress all this way. Hey, again, they're trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Giving them a safe and supportive environment, which I know you and I both did not have growing up, having that place where you could just come home and relax and just be in your own thoughts peacefully.
Yeah.
That I know I didn't have.
I didn't have that either.
And then really big one, open communication. During this time frame, a lot of times parents realize that, they're a preteen, teenager. They don't want to talk to me. No, they do. They just don't know how to. So giving them that ability again, hey, hey, Joe, I know you're going through some stuff. Just know I'm here for you. Mom's here, dad's here, whenever you need to talk, I'm not going to judge, kind of giving that floor for open communication,
right.
For when they need that support, it's there,
right.
And not taking offense when they go, I don't need you. I'm not going to talk to dad. I'm going to talk to mom.
Yeah.
Because again, they're going to push away from what they've always known because they don't know how to blend the two identities of
right.
I'm a son or a daughter, I'm a brother or a sister, but I'm also an individual.
Right.
Again, they're trying to morph this into who they're eventually going to become as an adult.
Right. Now, when I was 10 in Florida, I had a faith experience.
Oh.
Okay. That's where I became a Christian when I was 10 in Florida. I was invited to Sunday school, and I was a bus kid.
Yeah.
They used to have bus kid ministries out there in the 80s and 70s and all that. But when when we moved back to Michigan with my mother, and then she began to date, and she eventually remarried. This is where I was when I was 16, 17 or so.
Yeah.
Well, he's going through a phase. So no support even in my faith. Yeah, he's going through a phase.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great example. Yeah. Giving support. And that's the thing. And even I struggle. I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. No, now 15. So 12 and 15-year-old. And so they're right now in the thick of this. One just entered this stage. The other one's at the tail end of it. And I can see them day in and day out as they struggle with their identity, from what they wear to how they speak to who they identify as their friends and who they identify as not their friends, things that... And you see it in their daily struggle. And I see it as years go by. My 15-year-old, I remember 3 years ago, he was very into, I hate God. I'm never going to go to church.
Right.
He goes to church religiously every Sunday. And he's been doing that for the past year. And it's the most beautiful thing. When I see him, I give him the biggest hug and tell him, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
That was his journey, but to have peace with your child as they go through that journey and not pushing, I've always had where it's like, hey, when you're ready to talk about it, we're here, we're ready. And, and that time does come. You just got to have that support. And again, that open communication,
right,
where they feel safe. And that's something that but many other individuals probably did not get growing up, is having that ability to be like, hey, just be yourself. Whatever your dreams are, I support them, shoot for the moon.
Now, I got a question for you. Is there a danger in pushing this identity and role early?
Earlier than this?
Yes.
Yes.
How does that show up?
Well, because, again, our brains are not yet developed at that point.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's all about brain development.
Yeah.
So this is a stage of our brain development past where we're now away, we're further away from our nucleus, our mom and dad, where we got our support and our security. Okay,
right.
So now we've established that. Now we're starting to, almost like we're on our own voyage to go away from our family. That's really what this stage is, preparing us for adulthood.
Right.
We're building that resiliency level. We're building that sense of identity. We're building all of that, which in the end is going to be like, okay, I am a well-adjusted adult. When something comes to me and it doesn't work my way, I'm not going to have a tantrum like a kid. I'm going to process it the right way.
Right. Yeah. So, I thought that would be a good question because I think what we may see in this newer generation of parents is pushing independence too early.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Independence too early.
Yeah.
Pushing some of these themes that you find between 12 and 18 too early.
Yeah.
And then it creates conflict.
Yeah. Well, because you don't have that establishment of your trust with your kid yet. You don't have those the building blocks, the meat and potatoes of the relationship haven't been established. You're skipping steps.
Right.
So they're not going to have that sense of security with you. So you're almost setting them up for failure because they don't have the number one thing that's most important is having that safety net of security.
Right.
So you definitely don't want to rush them. And again, all of it has to do with the brain development in the end, but they're just not ready for it. And this stage is most important again, because this is literally the stage before we are 18, walking out the door as, hey, go get your own job or go to college kind of bit.
Right.
And so if you're 18, 19 years old and you're still going, who am I? What do I like? What do I want to do?
Right.
That's a big red flag for danger of in the future, depression, anxiety, and a host of a lot of other mental health disorders.
Wow.
So and keep in mind, especially, this is another thing I wanted to point out. This stage, it's not only psychological issues that are changing, but physiological things are changing. Remember, these kids are going through a flush of hormone changes.
Yeah,
a flush of hormone changes.
They've just getting through what? Puberty?
Just starting puberty.
Just starting
puberty,
at
puberty,
12?
Yeah, 11, 12.
Okay.
I know it's a little earlier for the newer generations, but it's
You're
still,
right, at 12.
Still that time frame. So we got the flush of hormones to also cause more issues on, the back end. So my biggest thing is be mindful, be open-minded, know the things that we can do. And what we're going to review right now, the things that will hinder our children, which sadly, a lot of our generations and the past generations were our norm because our parents didn't know better, didn't do better. You know what I'm saying? So the things that we definitely want to stay away from are lack of supporting guidance. So, again, not being there for your child or those children who do not have a mother and father or anybody that is there on the daily to support them on their dreams, negative role models, depending on where you live. I know I grew up in LA at a point in my life, and I was not supposed to be going out late at night.
Right.
Okay, that's where the gangs are.
Right.
So again, my parents didn't want me to get mixed up with the gangs. So they were like, no, you're not hanging out in the streets in LA. That's bad news.
Right.
We don't want you to have a negative role model. Okay. Yeah. So, having negative role models, ensuring that your children, again, we don't want to hinder them from exploring, but we also need to be their brain because their frontal lobe is not fully developed yet.
That's right.
So we also have to give them...
You have to set some boundaries, even at 17.
Oh, yes.
Or 8. Well, what about 18? What about the laws of the state?
See, and that's the thing. When you think about it, sometimes it's the craziest thing. Think about it. You can enlist at 18, but you can't drink till you're 21. You can fight for your country and die for it.
But you can't drink.
Your brain's not fully developed to figure out whether or not you did the right thing till you're 24 or 25.
But at 18, in some states, they can make their own choices without the parents. And legally.
Some can be younger. In Kentucky, if your parents sign off, you can get married at 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's just the craziest thing. I'm telling you, some things. We won't go down that road, though.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking, lack of brain development, lack of immaturity at that age. Yeah. I can't imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So that one, trauma, or what we call ACEs. So anything that's major detrimental, neglect, any type of trauma in childhood, those things definitely. Social media, peer pressure, I see that with my children every day. And so I limit it. My children have a bark phone so that I can see everything. They don't have internet access. I have to be that way again because I have to be their frontal lobe. We as adults in their life have to be their frontal lobe while giving them the ability to safely explore their own identity. And then last, of course, mental health issues. And we kind of touched on it a little bit a moment ago. Yeah. Children who do not have everything that they need during this stage more than often develop some form of mental health because they do not have the ability to be resilient. They don't have those life skills. They just don't have it.
Right.
And
You're right.
you get the adults like us who end up struggling with their own mental health.
Right. Yeah. So do you have anything else?
No. I think that's it. Okay. Sorry, I know I talked a lot today.
So again, just as a review, excellent. I like it when you're like that. You stay like that. I'll just share my story and you can just,
I love it. No, I love sharing your stories because it's a great example of having that support during that vital age and not having it.
Right. So the central question is, who am I? Exactly. And that's what they're really struggling with. Where am I going to go in life? Yeah. What am I going to do? Yeah. Some of the different development tasks they look for is they explore different roles, and they do it through engagement with their friends and other students, with leaders, with athletes, etc. They're even, and I see this even in church among the youth. I just observe, among youth groups and so forth, is that they're forming personal values, and they form it based on their beliefs, their goals, and what they probably their faith in a lot of ways. Or one would hope that they would use their faith as a source, as a source of value building.
Yeah. If it's been established, definitely.
Right. Then they're also establishing, in a sense, they're struggling even with the question of who am I? Where am I going to go in life? They're even struggling with this issue of gender identity.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one now, especially.
Yeah, gender identity. And what we really need to do is push for, when they're younger, is push for normalization of who they are as a boy or girl.
Oh, yeah.
They are a boy, and this is,
and this is what makes a boy a boy.
Yeah, and this, so those sort of things. Yeah. I think we get stuck when parents aren't engaged fully in what their kids are seeing. Like you're engaged. Oh, exactly. You don't want social media to influence them.
I am very close to being a helicopter mom.
Oh, are you? I
really am.
Wow.
That's just how scary social media is. Wow. The internet is just, it's an open door for everything and anything.
Okay. Yeah. So, how do they achieve their identity? How do they achieve their strong and sense of self? What do we have to do as parents?
Give them the ability to be themselves and be supportive and have that open window of communication if they do have questions,
So when we do that, when we're able to communicate, able to have that kind of relationship with them, then they will develop in a healthy sense. Yeah. The ability to be true to oneself.
Oh, yeah.
And maintain loyalty to values even when there's external pressures.
Oh, yes.
So when it comes to unsuccessful, you've talked about that.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
The things that would detriment us, the lack of support, the no good role models, and then the ACEs, of course.
Right, right. So we need to allow them to be involved in, as they're a student, allow them to be involved in extracurricular activities. Yeah. Encourage them to be involved in
that gives them
sports, things like that.
Positive outlets.
Yeah, positive outlets. Even martial arts, if they're not involved in school, or some form of anything.
There's many.
It doesn't always have to be athletic. Yeah. It could be the chess club. It could be the drama club, or band, or something like that.
Yeah. Some way to get engaged with other peers who are in a positive state themselves, for sure.
Yeah. So again, support adolescents in their identity exploration, validate their feelings and experiences, and encourage safe and meaningful decision making. I think that is what we need to do as parents, right?
Oh yeah.
So, hey, listen, we're here at The Journey, and we enjoy you watching us. Please, if they like us, just share it with other people, okay? Let other people know that they can get some valuable information from our podcast called The Journey.